Grace and shalom, peace to you from God the Father and the Lord Jesus Christ. This is Christopher Enoch here, and we're going to talk about whether or not it is wrong to celebrate Christmas. Anymore, there is a movement of so-called followers of Jesus, followers of Yeshua, or even those who call themselves Christians, that say that Christmas is a pagan holiday. It's wrong to celebrate. Now, we're going to look into this. According to the scriptures, according to history, they say that Christmas was instituted by Constantine, and the whole December 25th thing is not Jesus' birthday at all. And that another thing that they say is it's wrong because it's not one of the Lord's holidays, or it's not one of the Lord's feast days. It's not in the Torah. It's not the Feast of Tabernacles. It's not the Feast of Passover. You know, it's not the Feast of Pentecost. It is something outside of the Torah. Therefore, it is pagan. So the idea is that Christmas is not really God's holiday, not really the Lord's holiday, because it's not in the Bible, or it's not part of the Torah. Now, in the times of Christ, when Yeshua walked this earth in the flesh, we read that there was a holiday that was celebrated. There was, you might call it a feast day, a holiday, that was celebrated, which was called the Feast of Dedication. And many people know it today as Hanukkah. Hanukkah, the Feast of Hanukkah, is the Feast of Dedication. In Jesus' times, it was celebrated. Hanukkah was celebrated, but Hanukkah was not in the scriptures of the time. Hanukkah was outside of the Torah. You do not find the feast of Hanukkah in the Torah. Yet, Yeshua was involved in one way or another, to one degree or another. Perhaps he celebrated it fully, like everybody else did back in the day. At least he was there while the feast was going on. He was there in the midst of the festivities of Hanukkah. And we do not see any evidence that Jesus had any problem with Hanukkah. He could have said what people say today, well, Hanukkah is a pagan holiday because it's not in the Torah, because it's not in the scriptures, it's not in their Bible. You know, the Bible they had back then is what we know of today as, what a lot of people know of as the Old Testament. But Hanukkah was celebrated, and apparently Jesus had no problem with it at all. If not, he could have celebrated it himself in its entirety. And if he didn't, being called a rabbi in the day, he was part of the rabbinical, circles where he was deemed and classified as a rabbi. Why wouldn't he celebrate Hanukkah? And if he didn't celebrate Hanukkah, it would have been a big problem. It would have been a big stir. This rabbi is not celebrating one of our feasts, one of the Jewish feasts. Being a Jew, being a rabbi, he has to celebrate it. So we have some implications here. We have the implication that Jesus celebrated it, or at least had no problem with it, because he never spoke against it, and there's no record of him ever speaking against it. So that's one thing. So being that it was a holiday outside of the Torah, seemed to be no problem to Yeshua. He had no problem with it. So Hanukkah was a feast or a holiday added after, down the line, after their scriptures were written. In what I'm talking about, in their day, in that context, in the days when Yeshua walked this earth in the flesh. So the argument that holidays is wrong to celebrate a holiday that's not part of the original feasts of the Lord doesn't really stand up to that historical fact right there. Also, there's the argument that Christmas is a pagan holiday added by Constantine, and that December 25th is not Jesus' birthday. Well, according to history, church history, one of what people call one of the church fathers, Irenaeus, identified Jesus' birthday as December 25th, way before Constantine was born. Yes, hello, that is the fact. Irenaeus identified the birth of Jesus Christ as being December 25th, way before Constantine was ever in the picture. That should speak volumes in itself. If there's anybody that should know about the birth of Jesus and what date it was, what day it fell on, it would have been the earliest, the early fathers of the church, so to speak. It would have been someone like Irenaeus, if not the apostles themselves, because Irenaeus is not far removed from the apostles themselves, and they would have known. It apparently was a date that people accepted and knew about as Jesus' birthday. There's no evidence of any kind of repercussions that Irenaeus faced or endured or suffered because he pinned Jesus' birthday on December 25th. So I would come to say that if Constantine is indeed the one who actually officiated Christmas, and perhaps he was. I'm not saying he wasn't. But perhaps let's look at history. Let's look at pre-Constantine days. Perhaps he had a good reason to choose December 25th as Jesus' birthday and as a celebration of Christmas. Irenaeus being one good reason. Very good reason. Christmas is a time, now before I was born again, we talk about feeling the presence of God and experiencing the presence of God, His peace, His holiness, His glory. I felt that. Listening to Christmas hymns and Christmas choruses and Christmas songs, I felt the presence of God back in those days before I was even saved. So God uses Christmas to preach His gospel. God uses Christmas to bless people. God uses Christmas to get His word out and to do His wonderful works of blessing those who are in need. Is Christmas wrong to celebrate? If you're a Christian, if you're a follower of Yeshua, is it wrong to celebrate Christmas? I don't think so. I can't see it wrong in any part of the way. And so what if another pagan holiday was celebrated on December 25th? Well, how do we know that Satan didn't counterfeit that as a pagan holiday long before how do you know? So, I know I've been blessed through the Christmas message, through the Christmas songs, Christmas hymns, and the whole Christmas spirit, as you will. I believe that it is the true Christmas spirit is the spirit of Yeshua Himself. Looking forward to your comments. Thanks again for watching. Shalom, shalom.